Bonjour et bienvenue. Welcome to a tutorial by Madame Caro. Aujourd'hui, on va discuter l'expression française sillon plus imparfait plus point d'interrogation plus a question mark et on va faire des suggestions. D'abord, révisons un peu. When we use imparfait, it can translate to used to verb in English. So when I was younger, I used to visit my grandparents. Quand j'étais jeune, je rendais visite à mes grands-parents. And here I would use the verb visit in the imperfect. It can also translate to was verbing. So at 7 o'clock, I was brushing my teeth. À 7 heures, je me brossais les dents. It can also translate to would verb when we're talking about past events and not conditional events, but past events. So when my brother was 4, he would always watch cartoons. Also for repeated habitual actions. So if things happened over and over and over again, so every summer we would go to the beach. Tous les étés, nous allions à la plage. Background actions for interrupting event sentences. So it was raining when the accident happened. So that was raining. Il pleuvait is going to be in the imparfait. When we are describing things in the past, we often use imparfait. It was a beautiful day, the sun was shining, there were no clouds. All of that description is going to use the imparfait. And non-action verbs. So these are mental activities or state of being verbs such as être, or non-action verbs such as penser, aimer, vouloir, pouvoir, usually in the imparfait. And finally, sillon plus imparfait plus point d'exclamation. So this was a previous video that I did using this expression sillon imparfait with an exclamation point is expressing a wish. If only this happened. Si on allait à la plage. If only we went to the beach. Pour suggérer de faire quelque chose, when you're making suggestions, we're going to use the expression si plus on plus imparfait plus point d'interrogation. So I know this looks similar to what I was just talking about, but instead of an exclamation point, we're going to use a question mark. And by changing that punctuation, it changes the meaning of the sentence. We're no longer expressing a wish, but we're making a suggestion. We can translate these sentences to, how about doing something? Par exemple, si on étudiait ensemble, how about studying together? Si on allait à l'exposition de Renoir, how about going to the exhibition of Renoir? How about eating breakfast at a cafe? So here we can see for all of these sentences, how about studying, how about going, how about eating, there is the assumption that I'm including myself. So that's why we're using sillon plus imparfait. How about we do something together, including yourself in that suggestion. We can also use this same expression, but instead of using on every time, we can change that subject. Si plus sujet plus imparfait plus point d'interrogation. It still translates to how about, but instead of saying how about going, you would use the subject. How about you? How about I? How about we? Par exemple, si nous allions manger à un restaurant, how about we go to a restaurant? So here we're giving that suggestion. Si tu m'aidais avec les devoirs, how about you help me with my homework? Si j'allais au concert avec toi, how about I go to the concert with you? So here we can see that even though we're not using on as our subject, we can still use different subject pronouns to make suggestions to other people or about other people. Pratiquons. So let's practice. Après avoir regardé les images suivantes, faites des suggestions en utilisant si plus on plus imparfait plus point d'interrogation. So here we're just going to focus on using sillon plus imparfait plus point d'interrogation. So look at these images and I encourage you to pause, write down a suggestion that you might think of for each of those images, and then we'll go through them together. Par exemple, so here we have an image, say la plage. So you can pause the video and try to think of what is a suggestion that you might make looking at this picture. Moi j'ai dit, si on allait à la plage, how about going to the beach? Here's another one. J'ai dit, si on se réveillait à 8 heures, how about waking up at 8 o'clock? Last one. J'ai dit, si on mangeait du gâteau, how about eating some cake? So here we can see that we're giving that general suggestion, including ourselves in those suggestions. Maintenant, après avoir regardé les images suivantes, faites des suggestions en utilisant si plus sujet plus imparfait plus point d'interrogation. So for each of these, I'm going to give you a subject, and I want you to give the suggestion to them, using this expression, si, sujet, imparfait, point d'interrogation. So for this image, the subject I'm giving you is Marie et toi. So what suggestion could you come up with to give to Marie et toi? Moi, j'ai dit, si Marie et toi faisiez du shopping au centre commercial, so how about Marie and you go shopping at the mall? Here's another. La famille Dupont is your subject. So give La famille Dupont a suggestion. J'ai dit, si la famille Dupont se promenait, how about the Dupont family go for a walk? Last one. Le sujet, c'est les enfants. J'ai dit, si les enfants jouaient aux jeux vidéo, how about the kids play video games? Et c'est tout. Merci bien. I hope that this helped you understand a little bit more the difference of sillon imparfait plus point d'exclamation et sillon plus imparfait plus point d'interrogation, and how to make suggestions in French. Merci beaucoup. Voilà. Au revoir.